Hey guys, Jenny here, and today's video is an update on my student loan debt story because I am halfway there. Woohoo! Stay tuned for the whole story. Let's get right into the meat of my repayment. So if you want to know the backstory, you can check out the original video on the channel. So let's get into what I did to get halfway paid off. That's $67,200 down, $64,800 to go. My peak debt was after I finished residency, and it was $132,000. My path after finishing residency was really one of getting out as quickly as possible. Interest had accumulated during residency despite the fact that I paid $6,000. My loans went up by $4,000, and that was just unbelievable to me. So my plan was to just pay aggressively and get out quickly. So I chose a 10-year standard repayment plan. Remember, I have all federal loans. I would just pay extra as much as I could whenever I could on top of my required monthly payment with the hope of getting out in about 5 years. I kept at that for about a year and a half. It wasn't until 2016 when I filed my taxes, I kind of got hit with this realization. And what happened was I submitted my form stating how much interest I had paid on my student loans. It was almost $14,000. When I went to submit that information in TurboTax, I got a lovely little message that came up that let me know that I didn't qualify for this deduction anymore because I was over the $80,000 individual income cap. I was pissed. I mean, honestly, I was so furious. I could not believe that there was an income cap on the student loan interest deduction. It's a measly $625, and they wouldn't let me take it because of my income. But the thing was, the only reason I made that income was because of that debt. Without it, I could never have gone to college, let alone go get an advanced professional degree that cost a lot of money. I was really pissed because I felt like I was being punished for being poor and going to college. And, you know, it just seemed to me like if my family had been better off and could have paid for me to go to college, I wouldn't be getting taxed twice. You know, I wouldn't have to pay the interest. But as it was, because I lifted myself into a higher socioeconomic status through education, I was getting taxed twice. Not only did I pay the federal government $14,000 in interest on those loans, but I also paid them 28% of my income before I could even pay them that $14,000. And they were unwilling to give me any of that back. This to me just seemed unfair. It didn't seem right. I felt so upset by it, and it nagged at me for a really long time. I just kept thinking about it and turning it over and over in my mind and complaining about it. I was so mad about this whole thing, I nearly threw my laptop across the room. But that would have put me like $1,500 behind on my student loan debt, so I didn't. The reason I couldn't let it go is because there's something wrong with the way we treat student loan borrowers in this country. I was stuck paying 6.8% interest, and I felt like there was nothing I could do about it. And how was I ever going to get ahead? How was I going to make progress on my loans when I had paid over $30,000 that year and paid off only $16,000 in my principal? I started to see myself falling behind my peers who were able to borrow less money and able to pay that off in 1 or 2 years. Pretty soon I saw that they were maxing out their 401k and IRA contributions. You know, they were investing $22,000 a year, and I was just getting the max match my employer could contribute because I needed to pay back that debt. And that's when I saw it, plain as day. I finally saw the meaning of the rich get richer. This 6.8% interest that I had to pay to go to college to give myself opportunity to earn this income, it was keeping me from making the investments. I had always wanted to be free from my student loan debt, but now I felt suffocated. It was like somehow this education that had created so much opportunity and opened so many doors now started slamming them shut because of the cost of this debt. And I couldn't do anything to stop it. But then it hit me. I wasn't going to just complain and mourn the loss of my financial opportunities. I was going to find a better way. About that time, I went to coffee with one of my friends, who's a generation or two older than me and works as a vice president of a bank. I was telling her my plight, and she told me she thought there had to be some kind of a market for borrowers like me, who were high income, high debt, with good credit, to get a lower interest rate, because that 6.8% rate was terrible. I told her I was pretty sure all those companies were a scam and they had big fees. After this conversation, though, I really started thinking about it and decided I needed to do my due diligence. And I actually heard on a podcast an advertisement for a student loan refinancing company called Earnest. At the same time, on a different podcast I was listening to, I heard an advertisement for SoFi. Armed with referral links and a desire to see if there was something better out there, I went to these websites and checked out their rates. And it turned out Earnest was over a percentage point lower than SoFi, but both of them gave me rates that were so much lower than my federal rates. I couldn't believe it. I ended up settling for a 3.36% variable interest rate through Earnest, and that's just because it was over a percentage point lower than the fixed rate. And I refinanced $99,000 in June of 2016. So almost 2 years after I had actually started really tackling my debt with my full-time pharmacist salary, I finally halved my interest rate. Let me just say, my mind was blown. Half the interest rate, better customer service. I got to choose my repayment term. It was super flexible. I could slide my monthly payment to the exact amount I wanted and see exactly how that affected the interest rate they offered me. It was amazing. I do want to caution that student loan refinancing is not the right choice for everyone. I've written a ton of blog posts about this, so you should check them out on repayable.org if you're thinking about it and not sure if it's right for you. I'll link those up here in the notes of this video. So that brings us to 2017. By, kind of the middle of this year, my interest rate had crept up to around 4.1%. Because it was variable, and I decided I wanted to look around and see what else was out there. I was now armed with many more companies to take a look at and shop for better interest rates. I wanted a fixed rate so I just didn't have to keep an eye on the market and wonder what my interest rate would go up to next. So I ended up comparing rates across multiple companies. The three most competitive companies were Earnest, Elphi, and commonbond, and so I submitted applications to all three of those. Unfortunately, SoFi was still about a percentage point above everyone else, so I didn't bother submitting an application. I got approved by all three lenders, and the lowest rate was actually offered by Elphi, so different from the current company I was with. I actually contacted Earnest to let them know this. They asked for my Truth in Lending document, or TIL document, which basically had the terms of my loans as laid out by Elphi. And they decided to match that. So I ended up with a 3.37% fixed interest rate on my remaining about $73,000 of student loan. On August 1st, I refinanced my $73,000 for 3.37% fixed interest rate, and I plan to stay here until I get this debt paid off. I now have $64,800 remaining of my original $132,000, and I can taste my freedom. I'm halfway there in cash, but in time, I think it'll only take me 2 years instead of 3 years to pay off this second half. Because I now have this low fixed interest rate, I won't be wasting $14,000 a year ever again in interest. Now that I'm so close, I can glimpse my debt-free dream, and it's motivating me to tighten my belt on spending and pay as much extra as possible. In the past, I've skipped extra payments occasionally for things like travel or like in December for Christmas presents. I'm not going to do that in 2018. I'm going to plan ahead for these things and save intentionally. I'm not going to get rid of these things. I'm just going to plan and be more intentional about them. And I may have to limit them some. I'll be paying at least $3,000 a month every month for all of 2018. I hope you guys enjoyed my story. Cheers to kicking ass in 2018. What's your story? I would love to hear it. Repayable is here to share the burden and find strategies to eliminate it completely for you and future borrowers. I'm no longer willing to accept that things are just going to keep getting worse. Are you? If not, subscribe to this channel, check out the blog, or send me an email. I'm here to team up and destroy student loan debt. I hope you'll join me.